back, old school with you, legendary bloodlines. Hope you had a good Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. So, I want to do an EverQuest 3 wishlist video, but it's gonna be more or less me talking, less video. I am going to make a video after this using the comments that this video gets so that I can gather as much data as possible so that I can make the best wishlist video possible for EverQuest 3 using everybody's input. I had the idea by combing across a Reddit post which was like an EverQuest 3 wishlist. I've seen a million of them. But anyways, I figured why the hell not? We'll do it on the channel. Maybe we can get some good interaction. The other EverQuest 3 video has like a lot of comments, so maybe this will get a similar amount of interaction. And from the interaction, I can take the data, we can understand what we want. All right, let's go forward. And we're gonna go through this kind of quick because I'm gonna give only a very small piece of basically my input on the subject, and then we're gonna move on to another subject. These subjects were compiled based off the ones that are most common in threads like EverQuest 3 wishlist. That being said, let's go. Here we go. And these are in no really specific order. However, the first set of these are the ones that the community seems to agree the most on. So yeah, that being said, the first one is art style. We all seem to kind of agree that we want that high fantasy EverQuest 2 art style, the same art style that Landmark and Next was going to use. So I don't think there's really any discussion there on my part. If, and going forward, if you have a piece of information you want to add, so as far as art goes, you think that there should be something, you know, that you feel is important, please put that in the comments. For everybody that leaves a comment on this video, please put wishlist first as the first word so that I know that all those comments are the ones that I need to gather data for to make the second video that basically has a better idea of what we want. Because, I don't know, maybe somewhere down the line one of the EQ3 devs comes across one of these videos, and who the hell knows, maybe they get some small little tiny idea of something from one of these things that we've talked about. So yeah, art style, that seems to be pretty common, we agree on that. Soundtrack, we pretty much all agree that we like the same style music from EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2, which was banging. We won't get into that. But yeah, we want something very similar. We all kind of agree that we want housing. Some people want, you know, instanced. Some people want, like, you know, different types of housing. We all want housing. So if you have something about that specifically, please put it in again. We all kind of agree that we want factions. It makes for good role-playing. Makes for good player versus player. It just makes for a unique gameplay experience when you play from one side, and then if you get bored, you can always try the other side. Factions, we agree that we like them. That's just the way that goes. Classes. Now, we kind of all agree that we like the EverQuest style classes. Class identity. Lots of class flavors. Lots of abilities. Class trainers like EverQuest and World of Warcraft vanilla style. So classes, that's a big one, but we all seem to kind of agree that we want kind of the same thing. So this next set of stuff is all going to be stuff that the community is very split on. Okay, so it's going to be real interesting to see what everybody has to say about this stuff. So the next one's going to be combat. I would prefer something a little bit modern. I still like tab target. I think World of Warcraft aged very well with its combat. So, you know, EverQuest 2 has, all I'm going to say is it's just poor combat design. And with an EverQuest 3, we definitely need good combat. So that's where I'm going to leave that. You guys can discuss and let everybody know what you think about the combat thing. What do you think is important when it comes to combat? There's so many different flavors. We've got the whole spectrum from EverQuest 1, full tab target, regular standard. You got only a few abilities you can only have on the hotbar at the same time. Then you've got all the way up to like New World, is like action combat. In between those, you've got Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, all these games. So the combat thing is, there's a lot to choose from if you're a designer. But we know what we want. We want something very similar to World of Warcraft responsiveness, but maybe a little bit more flashy, a little bit more poppy. I like the Demon Hunter play in World of Warcraft. The class plays like twice as fast as any other class. It's a different World of Warcraft experience when you play a Demon Hunter. So yeah, that's something to take in mind. Another thing going forward on the EverQuest 3 wishlist is going to be crafting. Now, there's a lot of survival titles out there right now, so a lot of people have different opinions on this. I like crafting in a game. I thought EverQuest 2 crafting is some of the best still to this day crafting in any MMORPG. So that being said, we definitely want really good crafting, building off of what EverQuest 2 had, but something a little bit more modern. The next thing would be character progression. People want to feel like as they're getting, new equipment, new armor, their character becomes more powerful. As they're getting new abilities, their character becomes more powerful. They like to see this visibly. They want to see, better armor. They want to see, their abilities look more powerful. So, that's something that basically we kind of all agree on. But as far as progression goes, there is kind of a little bit of a split there. The next thing is cash shop. There's a split here. Basically because some people think that it's okay to buy cosmetics. There's still a group of people that don't want to have that in a game. I can find myself somewhere in a happy medium. You can have a cash shop. Why not? Have cosmetics. Why not? Make them look a lot less cool than the stuff that you can craft and you can raid for and you get from PvP. So like basically make the stuff that you buy like kind of like, if the person wants to RP as a farmer, they can buy like a farmer outfit or something like that. But they can't buy gear that makes them look like God. That I don't agree with. Even though it's just cosmetic, I don't like that. So yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about it too. I'm not really sure exactly where I stand. Put a comment in wishlist first, like I said, and then put in cash shop, and then let me know what you think about that. The next one's going to be PvP design. Now, a lot of people that are old EverQuest fans also played Warhammer 2. And, well, I can't say that. I don't know why I said that. Played Warhammer. I have Warhammer 2 on my mind because I recently made a Warhammer 2 video. And I'm thinking about making another video on that because there's a new Warhammer coming out. Anyways, Warhammer was basically the first MMO we got that was completely built around world PvP in such a way that you basically had to interact player versus player while you were questing, and in a good way. The game promoted player versus player, and everything was always very well balanced. Even from the low levels, you had a very good player versus player experience. That being said, EverQuest was never built for player versus player. So they had a couple of servers in EverQuest 1, the Zek servers. I still have a tune on Zek. It's literally dead. Some people might go, oh, it's not dead. There's like 5 of us to play. But in EverQuest 2, that PvP was amazing when it first launched. They had this rank system, kind of like Warcraft Vanilla, where you'd get titles and you could steal titles from other people. And I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of players playing, and the servers are full. I mean, there was so much action. Of course it was very fun, but the design was bad. All the scout classes were inherently 10 times better than almost anything else. You had a couple of other classes that were really good. Brawler Monk was pretty decent. Shatter Knights were always alright. But the game was never really made for player versus player either. EverQuest 2 player versus player was an afterthought, and the player versus player servers were just to accommodate us that wanted them. That being said, the player versus player thing was one of the reasons that EverQuest 2 died. And I'm not going to get too much into that. All I'll say really is that it got to the point where players were actually being farmed so badly that they were having, a miserable time in game, and there was really nothing that Sony was doing about it. There was just too many players, and we were figuring out, not exploits, but just good ways to play the game. Like, if you played a scout, you could stay near a zone, you could stealth. If, you felt like you were weak, you could zone hop. I mean, it was that easy. And people were just so discouraged by that type of gameplay. And it was bad design. So going forward, player versus player, especially how popular that is in like WoW Season of Discovery right now and stuff like that, the world PvP, EverQuest 3 has to have some banging world PvP. So, whatever your flavor is in player versus player. And the other thing is you don't have to play player versus player. In EverQuest 3, I'm hoping that they just separate the servers. One is player versus player, one is not. One's RP, maybe you get an RP PvP server. And there's no flagging. See, like, in World of Warcraft, it's all weird. But here's how it works in an EverQuest game. If you go on a player versus player server, you're flagged. Like, that's just the way that it works. And that's how I would hope EverQuest 3 would play too. EverQuest 2 is a little bit different, and they also changed it over time to accommodate Care Bears and whatnot. But we're not going to get into that. That's just a lot of talk on the player versus player thing, because that's one of my big interests. And if they fuck up the player versus player thing, this game's definitely going to die. So it's very important to me that I at least get my point out on that one. The next thing, and we just touched on that, servers. So shouldn't really be a split on this, but there is, because some people want like tons of servers, and layering sucks. I think there should be as few servers as possible. If you have the type of technology where you can do a mega server, that'd be dope. And layers were always full, that'd be cool. I don't like layers that are, you spread everything too thin and then the world feels dead when you've got millions of people playing. That's a fucking bad design. So they've got to figure out this whole layering shit, servers, all this other stuff. And the next one's going to be mob difficulty. Some people want hard mobs, some people like grinding easy. I prefer difficult mobs. One of the things specifically that I want to touch on is mob tethering. Do I believe that mobs should go all the way to zone, like in an EverQuest 1 game where you literally have to go to the guards? Yeah, I guess so. I've always liked that design. And World of Warcraft, even vanilla, one of the things that breaks the immersion and makes the game just a little bit easy if you understand the basic mechanics is the tethering of the mobs. So yeah, mob tethering, that's one of the things. The next is going to be dungeons. Excuse me. And on the dungeons one, most people like open world dungeons. Most people also like the ability to go into an instance dungeon. So I think having both isn't bad. I think it's good. I think you have open world dungeons. This is like kind of where Throne and Liberty went with it, where open world dungeons are non-instance and you compete against other players, and even if you're flagged or on a PvP server, you're going to be playing against the other faction. So not just competing against, your friends for mobs, but killing each other for the mobs. And I like that design. And I also like instance dungeons. So, however you can blend the two of them, I think that's extremely important. And that's just my take on that. Meeting stones, you know, group finder, I don't know, man. You know, even EverQuest 1 had the Portal of Knowledge, and it's got all the stones in it. So, you know, you need some sort of fast travel. Whether it gives you access to dungeons or not, I'm not sure. But fast travel is super important. The next one's questing, and we're coming up on the end here. So that's about it. We're going to have this and one more, but they're both pretty important. And questing is, to me, one of the landmarks of an MMORPG. If the questing sucks, then the game will only keep me occupied so long. And I'm not just talking about the depth of the quest lines. I'm talking about, I want massive quantity and a lot of quality. So yeah, when it comes to voice acting, I think that that's kind of almost a necessity these days. Although one of the things is, you don't really read it in your brain like you do when you're reading words on the screen. So I think old school EverQuest has, you know, a more immersive questing environment when you actually have to interact with the NPC, you know, read what they're saying, actually figure out what the riddle is, and then go solve it. And that could be going to do X, Y, and Z, and they're all difficult. So questing, super important to me. EverQuest 2, Heritage quests, some of the best quests in the entire MMORPG industry, still to this day. I would hope and almost guarantee that they will have heritage quests in EverQuest 3, and those will take from the items that were most iconic in 1 and 2, and we will quest to get them, like the Journeyman's boots, for example, or the flowing black silk sash. So yeah, there's a lot of different items that are iconic. Questing is the way that you get them. I think heritage quests are super important in an EverQuest franchise. So that's my take on the questing thing. Questing difficulty, I think they should be difficult. Should we be killing boars and stuff like that still? Yeah, I mean, that's the way that works. You're in a world. So when you're interacting with NPCs in a world, you know, you're doing what that NPC is around. If that NPC is around a farm, well, there's boars. I mean, the game was designed to be, you know, realistic when we're talking about, you know, the EverQuest franchises. That's why the games feel so immersive. And I've mentioned World of Warcraft a lot because I'm sure a lot of you guys are playing, you know, Season of Discovery while you wait for a new EverQuest, which is coming in another 10 years. We're all playing whatever we're playing, but I'm sure that we're playing WoW here and there, so that's why I'm referring to it quite a bit. And lastly, up on the list is going to be death. So, a lot of people are split. Some like a very hardcore death penalty, some like an easy death penalty. I think most of us like it to be a little bit difficult, at least, to get back into action after you die. That way, there's a reason why you don't want to die. But there's levels to that, like item loss. What do we want here? You know, XP loss. Do you want corpse runs? Do you want to have to do corpse summoning? You know, what's the level of this? Well, me personally, I think XP loss on death, I like that. I've always liked it. I don't like the fact that modern games don't do that. I think that would encourage a lot better play style. But yeah, that's me. Going forward with EverQuest 3, I don't mind a hardcore death penalty in the sense that you lose just a tiny fraction of experience when you die. Like, not a lot. Maybe like 10 mobs worth or something like that. And also, you also have to run back to your corpse. In my like, you know, ideal EverQuest 3 death world, it's like the same type of corpse run that a Warcraft vanilla has with, you know, possibly a corpse summon mechanic like EverQuest had, and revives like, you know, EverQuest 2, EverQuest 1. And yeah, on that note, that's it, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. That was a little bit of one, and it wasn't even the one with all the data. So leave your comments below as to what you think should be in this wish list, and I will make another video if we get enough comments and update it with all our information. So, you know, until I see you all next time, and happy holidays, because it is the week of the holidays in the new year. So whatever holiday you celebrate, have a good one.